It's time for your business update now. And U.S. securities regulators have charged Sam Bankman-Fried with defrauding investors of nearly $1.8 billion. Now, Bankman-Fried was arrested at his luxury penthouse in the Bahamas earlier today after U.S. prosecutors filed criminal charges.
Lend out funds by which other users...
Bahamian authorities say Sam Bankman-Fried will be promptly extradited once his indictment is unsealed and after the US makes a formal request. Bankman-Fried has a right to contest his extradition. That could delay the process, but is unlikely to stop his transfer to the US. The arrest and charges are the first concrete moves by regulators to hold individuals accountable for the collapse of FTX. It also comes just a day before the 30-year-old was due to testify in front of a US congressional committee, but that public grilling is now on hold. The committee is investigating how the crypto exchange imploded, leaving customers with millions of dollars in losses and also leaving plenty of unanswered questions about possible misuse of funds, for which Bankman-Fried earlier this month had no explanation.
I did not know that there is any improper use of customer funds.
The committee will still hear testimony from John Ray III, the new court-appointed CEO of FTX. In his opening remarks published today, Mr. Ray criticized the failure of corporate controls at every level of the organization. He said the firm lacked financial statements and internal governance. Mr. Ray will also detail other unacceptable management practices in the defunct exchange. The rapid collapse of FTX has sent shockwaves through the digital assets industry.
It's really been the fall of Icarus, really, in crypto. If you look, we're down close to 2/3 in terms of value from where we started the year, and there's been a succession of events that have been pretty dramatic for the space and the industry as an asset class. I think it's really been a pretty terrible repricing where we've had to reevaluate the capacity for the industry to self-regulate and self-govern.
Fearing for their assets, investors have reportedly pulled nearly $1.5 billion worth of bitcoins out of exchanges in the past month.
Well, the fallout from the meltdown at FTX continues to build as investors retreat from the crypto market. The momentum is causing headaches for exchanges amid a collapse in confidence. Now, today, Binance, that's the world's largest cryptocurrency exchange, paused withdrawals of the stablecoin USDC. Binance said that it will continue carrying out a token swap, which involves swapping one cryptocurrency for another without the need for fiat currency. Changpeng Zhao, the CEO of Binance, tweeted that the exchange is seeing an increase in withdrawals of the stablecoin, which is pegged 1-to-1 with the US dollar. USDC is issued by investors to trade in and out of different cryptocurrencies without the need to move money back into US dollars. Now, if traders are withdrawing USDC from Binance, it could also mean that they're moving it to another platform. According to a report by blockchain intelligence platform Nansen, Binance is currently facing a wave of withdrawals amid concerns about its proof of reserve report. Now, outflows on the exchange hit $902 million over 24 hours on Monday alone, surpassing those of all other centralized exchanges. US prosecutors are reportedly considering criminal charges against Binance and its founder, Changpeng Zhao, after a spate of cases that saw criminals use Binance to transfer illicit funds. The crypto exchange has refuted those reports. Now, the FTX fallout is also drawing the attention of financial watchdogs around the world. The Financial Stability Board intends to lay out firm steps to regulate the cryptocurrency industry by early 2023. Now, a timeline for global regulators to implement its recommendations as well. The outgoing Secretary General of the FSB says that there is, quote, strong agreement among the members about the strategy for crypto regulation, with the intent to hold the digital asset to the same standard as banks. The FSB was created in 2009, representing institutions such as financial regulators, central banks, and ministries of finance from more than 20 jurisdictions. Global rules agreed at the FSB. Well, they are put into law by national politicians and regulators. The FSB has previously proposed a comprehensive framework for crypto aimed at addressing potential risks. Members of the public have until the 15th of December to comment on the group's recommendations regarding stablecoins. Europe will no longer ignore the climate effects of foreign goods. EU lawmakers have agreed to enforce the world's first carbon border tax. Now, the move aims to reduce emissions and protect the bloc's domestic industry. But there are concerns that the measures could lead to trade protectionism and hurt developing countries. The deal reached today allows imported goods sold in EU markets to be taxed on the basis of their carbon content. That is the emissions required to produce them, which depends on their material as well as energy inputs. The importers will be charged in order to equal the costs shouldered by domestic producers who pay for allowances to cover their pollution. The policy is designed to discourage domestic firms from outsourcing production to regions with lower environmental standards and where the cost of compliance might be less. The new taxes will initially apply to the highest emitting industries, including iron, steel, cement, hydrogen, as well as electricity generation. It will likely be expanded to other sectors in the coming years. There appears to be no letting up in the fight between the world's top two economies to attain chip supremacy. Just as the United States moves to keep China away from cutting-edge chip technology, Beijing is now reportedly working on a massive $143 billion support package for its semiconductor industry. Now, sources are saying that China plans to roll out what will be one of its biggest fiscal incentive packages over 5 years. It will include subsidies and tax credits to bolster semiconductor production and research activities at home. The plan could be implemented as soon as the first quarter of next year. The fiscal support plan comes after the US passed a sweeping set of regulations in October that limits Chinese research labs and commercial data centers access to advanced AI chips, among other curbs. The US has also been lobbying some of its partners, including Japan and the Netherlands, to tighten exports to China of equipment used to make semiconductors. Now, let's return to our top business story tonight. The charges against FTX founder Sam Bankman-Fried. We'll go over to Will Denslow. He is in New York for us. Will, now that these charges have just been unsealed, what else can you tell us?
Well, we know that Sam Bankman-Fried has been charged with wire fraud and money laundering. We've heard from the SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission. They've accused the former founder of FTX of creating what they describe as a house of cards of deception. We're also expecting charges from the Southern District here in Manhattan as well. Of course, this all really relates to the bank run that we saw on FTX that revealed they're essentially $8 billion in the hole. Now, there is going to be an investigation, and this trial will certainly look into whether there was funds transferred from FTX to the hedge fund controlled by Sam Bankman-Fried, Alameda, and whether that was an illicit transfer of customers in FTX's money over to that other fund. So that'll be a central part of this trial going forward. And now we've heard, of course, in recent weeks from Sam Bankman-Fried, who's been incredibly vocal for someone under investigation. Speaking at a New York Times summit, he was asked point blank whether he committed wire fraud. He refuted that. He did say on numerous occasions during that hour-long or so talk he gave at the Times summit just a few days ago that numerous mistakes were made and that he essentially bears responsibility for much of that blame, but he refuted that any illicit action on his part was made.
Will, where does this leave the extradition process now? How long might that process take?
Well, of course, with extraditions, it's never particularly straightforward, but it's vital to add that the Bahamas and the United States do have an extradition treaty, so that'll certainly ease things significantly, considering the ties between the two. But there'll certainly be interesting to see whether there is any kind of appeal from Sam Bankman-Fried, which could potentially slow down the extradition process. The timing of this is altogether absolutely fascinating, considering the fact that Sam Bankman-Fried was set to testify before the House Financial Services Committee just this morning here in the United States. There's plenty of analysis into why, in fact, there wasn't a delay on this investigation and why the charges weren't announced after he spoke to lawmakers under oath. And there's certainly plenty of speculation as to whether there have been people that have been cooperating with investigators to fast forward an investigation that for white-collar crime can take weeks, if not months, to compile. So the timing of this is absolutely fascinating.
Plenty of questions need those answers. Will, thank you very much for that. Will Denslow there reporting from New York City.